as we have seen how to identify the perfect Facebook groups, the perfect locations where your ideal clients gather and hang out, right? So you can get in front of them and add some value over there. And the next module is all about content, how to create the content that sells, how to create the content that converts, how to create the content that attracts your ideal clients. And before moving to that module, I want to add this specific lesson about messaging inside this module. Okay, so let's talk about messaging, how to craft your magnetic messaging, because this is a very important part and most of the coaches avoid this, or they are not aware of these messaging things. So what is messaging and how it is underrated inside the coaching industry? Now, messaging is very underrated in the coaching industry, and you have to make sure you follow this, because this is the thing that will attract more of your clients and will make sure that you stand out from the crowded and the saturated market. Instead of going for the different types of contents, the different type of frameworks, the hooks, the CTAs, and all those things, the main soul of your content is the messaging. So that's what we are going to see in this lesson. So what is messaging? Before giving you a concrete definition of messaging, I would like to share with you something important. Okay, so a story I always tell my clients. I am sure that you will relate to this. So when I was a kid, my grandmother used to always talk about the importance of karma. Okay, so she would say something like, karma will catch up with you, or it is all about karma. Whatever you do, it will give back to you. That is karma, right? And as a child, I was curious and confused at those days. Okay, what exactly is this karma everyone is talking about? Okay, so I asked my grandmother, but he explained me, but I didn't understand it, and it sounds generic. It sounds something like, what goes around comes around. What you do will come back to you, something like this. Okay, so it wasn't clear until I was older, and I truly understood the concept of karma much later. Now, what is karma? I learned that it's a belief that your actions, whether they are good or bad, will eventually come back to you in some form, right? It's about living with intention and treating others with kindness, knowing that your deeds will shape your future, right? So that's how a lot of entrepreneurs, coaches talk about messaging. It's the words that everyone throws around, messaging, 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 but most don't have a solid understanding of what actually it means. Okay, and if they do know what it means, their definition is likely different from the entrepreneurs who are sitting right next to them. Right now, messaging is not something that you are sending messages. Messaging is a message, but it's not the message that you are sending, or not a script that you are sending on the DMs or the messengers to people. Okay, this is a different thing. So there are key concepts like offer or your ideal clients. These are the universally accepted definitions because they are much more concrete and they are self-explanatory, right? But the messaging, it is not much universally accepted. This is a much underrated thing that we are going to see. Okay, so in simplest sense, messaging is how you communicate your offer in a way that resonates with your ideal client. As simple as that. Messaging is how you communicate your offer in a way that resonates with your ideal client. So if you want to sell your offer, yeah, and probably you want to, right? You have to communicate that offer, right? So your prospects must have the same understanding of your offer that you do. That's where your messaging comes in. The foundational tenets of how you talk about your offer, that is messaging. Now your messaging shows up in every aspect of client attraction process. It's in your content, it's in your copies, it's in your DMs, it's in your strategy sessions, it's in your branding. It is the foundational element that will make it easy for you to decide whether to use one word or a phrase or a long form text or a short form text over another, and to choose the topics to write the social media post, the social media content on, right? So it all comes back to messaging. And if you want your offer to resonate with your ideal client, then your job is to dial in with your messaging to align with your offer and your ideal client. All right. So messaging is a bridge that will connect your offers to your ideal clients. as I said, is your messaging is a bridge between your offer and your ideal clients or your content. Now we are going to talk about how to bridge the gap between your offer and your client by dialing in your messaging. Okay, so the two main aspects of conversations are content and messaging. So it's worth defining what exactly we mean when we use these terms. Okay, so what is content? Content is what you put out into the world, anything that educates, inspires, entertains. Okay, social media posts, blog posts, emails, videos, reels, all are examples. We are going to dive deeper into content later in this program, but for now, we are focusing on messaging. Okay. And what is messaging? Now, messaging is a language you use to create that content. Remember this, messaging is a language you create that content. It's the broader way that you communicate with your ideal client. Now, your goal is to create a complete alignment where your offer is aligned with your messaging and your messaging is aligned with your content. Pay attention to this. So, the messaging is a bridge between your offer and your content. And at last, your content is consumed by ideal clients. So, messaging is a bridge between your offer, you, and your ideal client. So, it is a so much important thing. So, when your content and messaging don't align, it might mean that the messaging you are using in your podcast or in your videos is actually a little bit different than the messaging you are using in your social media posts. So the messaging may be different in different things. Maybe it is different podcast, different in your social media posts or a text form content or a video form content on YouTube or an email newsletter. Okay, but your goal is to create a complete alignment where your offer is aligned with your messaging and the messaging aligns with your content. Okay. Now there is a framework that I want to share you. This is a simple framework that will help you to create that relationship. And the goal of this framework is simple. You have to help your ideal clients see the mistakes they are making and the problems they are having. Then show them the implications of those mistakes or problem and show them the benefits of fixing it and tell them what they need to do to fix that mistake. Okay. In a nutshell, you want to create a mindset shift for your ideal clients. Okay. By helping them see their mistakes and the problems, then showing the implications when they stay stuck into that mistakes and the problems, then showing them the benefits when what will happen when they come out of that problem or mistakes and what they need to fix that. Okay. So you have to think of each aspect. So let's talk about the mistakes, what mistakes they are making, what are the problems your ideal clients are having and what mistakes are they making currently. Remember to get specific on that. The best mistakes and the problems are the often most specific, concrete, the day-to-day mistakes that they are making or they are not thinking about. Okay, there are mistakes that they are aware of, they are not aware of. Okay, if they are facing a problem, then they are doing mistakes. 100% they are doing mistakes. Then what are the pains, the implications? What are the pains of making those mistakes and having those problems? What are the consequences of making that mistakes? The consequences they might not even have been experiencing yet, but will eventually experience. What frustrations arise from their making this mistake? And these implications, these consequences, they don't even realize. So you have to pinpoint that in your content. What would be the benefits and the results of solving those pain points? When they fix this mistake, what benefits and results do they experience? And upon getting these benefits and results, how does that affect every aspect of their life? You have to think about this. Okay. Lastly, what do they need to do to resolve it? What are the high level things they need to do to solve that problem and reap the benefits? What they need to do, not necessarily how they need to do it, but you need to focus on what they need to do. Okay, so you have to brainstorm as many mistakes and the problems as you can. And for each one, identify the implications, the consequences, the benefits of solving it, fixing it, and what they need to do to make that happen. Okay. So the best way to get started, draw up a 4-column table with these headings. Number 1 is mistakes or problems. Number 2 is the resulting pain, then the benefits of solving and what they need to solve. Then in the leftmost column, start brainstorming the mistakes your ideal clients are making and the problems they are having. And working from left to right, dig into each of the components of that mistakes and problems. Now you have already done the ideal client clarity and offer worksheet, then it will be easier for you to do this. And before going to the content thing, I have added this lesson because this is the most important thing. I have an entire content. I can create an entire program around this. There are high level things around messaging because this is the most important thing. And when I learned this, entire client attraction game changed for me. Okay, I decreased my DMs, I decreased my sales calls because of the messaging. This is where people come to me. This is where people starting sending you DMs that they need to work with you, because this attracts them, triggers them deep down into their mistakes and problems. Then they say, this is the person that is talking to me. So this is what messaging is. Okay, so that's how I have just attached in this client magnetizer. I have attached a single lesson, but in future I will attach entire module or an entire course or program around messaging, because this is the most important thing I came across, and this is the best way to attract clients rather than posting the generic content about value and how to's, right? Okay, so as I said that with the work of identifying the problems you have already done around your offer and ideal client clarity, the more specific you will be, or the more specific you can get with each one of those mistakes and problems, you will get better. Okay, because the more specific you identify the mistakes and the problems they are dealing with, the more dialed in your messaging will become. And the more dialed in your messaging will become, the better and the stronger you are able to connect with your ideal clients, right? Now, but the question is how to come up with specific problems and mistakes, right? So let's see an example here. So you can see, for example, if you're a life coach, identifying problems that your ideal clients are facing, okay, you might identify not being able to get work done as a problem. Okay, so if you're a life coach, then your ideal clients might be facing a problem, that is they are not being able to get the work done. Okay, now you have to try to dig a little deeper, right? So ask yourself, are they having trouble sitting down and finding the motivation to get started? Okay, in which case it's problem around the motivation, right? Or are they sitting down and getting started, but their attention starts to drift off on 10 minutes, in which case it's a problem around focus. So you have to identify, right? So not being able to get the work done is a generic problem, but the actual cause you have to identify. Is it around motivation? Is it around focus? Okay, are they dealing with the both? Great, then those are the two entirely different line items. Okay, but if you want to get even more specific, and you should get more specific, then identify the concrete mistakes they are making that are creating those problems in the first place. All right, so here are some examples, as you can see, where you can find the mistakes. So you can go this way. So here are some examples that would be, okay, so they wake up, throw some clothes on, and sit at the desk expecting to channel a fountain of productivity from the moment they wake up. In other words, they're not taking the time to fill their energy tank before getting started for the day. This is a mistake, right? Or they are going to sleep too late. They feel groggy and exhausted when they wake up in the morning. They are not planning out their weeks and days, so they don't have a clear idea of what they need to do to focus. They are starting their work day by checking and responding to email rather than focusing on the most important task of the day. So these are all the mistakes, the specific mistakes they are doing. All those things would be an excellent line items for this fictional life coach, right? So the more specific you are when identifying the mistakes your ideal clients are making and the problems they are facing or the problems they are dealing with, the more dialed in your messaging will become. And the more dialed in your messaging is, the better and the stronger you will be able to connect and attract your ideal clients. Okay, so try to fill at least 20 rows of your messaging sheet that we have seen here, 20 rows of 20 mistakes or 20 problems and the resulting pain, benefits of solving and all those things. Okay, try to feel that, because that will be a living document. and treat that document as a living document. Always keep adding new mistakes and problems as you start working with client, as you start observing the findings, observing the behavior of your ideal clients. You will add more and more problems and mistakes to it. Okay. And then hold on to this document, because it's going to be your guiding compass when we talk about creating content later in the upcoming lessons. Okay. So messaging framework can be used in any type of format, and the type of post may be used in a long form post. Okay, so this was the messaging framework, the magnetic messaging framework that we've seen. First is to identify the problems and mistakes they are doing, then telling the consequences or implications of that problem they are suffering with, then telling them the benefits of what will happen if they come out of that problem, what will happen when they get rid of that mistakes and problems, and the last thing is what they need to do to solve that problem. Okay, this is a magnetic framework of 4 aspects. Okay, so this messaging framework can be used in any type of format and any type of post. Maybe it's your long form post, reels, webinars, live stream, etc. And this is how you will sell your offer. This is how you have to communicate your offer. Okay, so your prospects will then have the same understanding of your offer that you do. Okay, so make sure to implement that sheet of messaging. Now, again, I'll say that yes, it is too much of work before jumping into the content thing. I know that I am diving deeper into all the aspects of foundations, because when you do this, when you have these things already, the foundation, the niche, the ideal client clarity worksheet, the offer creation worksheet, the messaging worksheet, then it will be much easier. You will not spend hours and hours of thinking what to post every day, how to create the content, what topics I need to consider when attracting clients. It will be easier. You just have to go back and take a look at your ideal client worksheet or your offer worksheet and the messaging worksheet. Then within a click, within a minutes, you will be able to create content around that. Okay, so I'm taking so much time on the foundations thing inside this program, inside this course, because it will be much easier when you implement all the marketing and sales strategies. So this is the case, because I've seen most of the coaches who directly jump on, they create the offer in a one day and jump on the marketing and sales stuff, and they struggle. They feel that they don't have time to do the marketing things because they are not aligned with what they actually want to do. Now, if you tell me, I can list down 100 and 200 of things about my offer, about what my ideal clients is facing, or what problems they are facing, what mistakes they are doing, because I'm very much clear and I have given much time creating my foundations. Now I have to just go to a document where I have identified my ideal client, my messaging worksheet. I'll pick a problem and create a content around it in 10 minutes. So it is so much easier for me. Okay, so I don't spend more time creating content, thinking about everything. I have those foundations set up. So make sure that you have also your foundation set up of everything from until date. In the next model, we are jumping into the content. But before that, if you do this, the other part will be easier. If you found the other parts, the content creation, the marketing and sales difficult, it means that you are not clear with your foundations. Go back to the foundations, clarify your foundations, get a clear perspective of on your foundations, and then jump towards the other things. Again, the choice is in your hand. Everyone wants a magic trick, a quick result. You can jump to directly to the marketing and sales part and still they get confused, overwhelmed, and still get stuck, right? Or you can go to the foundations, clear those parts in a week or 2 weeks, and then come to the marketing and sales parts. This will be much more easier for you to do all the things in an easier manner. It is better way to spend 8 hours, 6 to 8 hours creating your content, DMing people on the sales funnel, all those things. And it is better for the first 2 weeks you nail down your foundations, have a clear-cut documentations of or clear-cut worksheets set up for you, and then spend at least 1 or 2 hours every day doing your content marketing or sales thing. That's what I am doing, and I prefer that you do the same. Okay, I'll again say that follow all the worksheets and all the lessons and worksheets, review all the lessons, watch, consume all the lessons, follow all the worksheets, complete all the assignments until now. Because on the next time we are jumping into the implementation of the content part and the appointment setting, then the sales part. Now, if you follow that, then it will be difficult for you to jump into the foundations again and again, do all those things. So better that you complete all those things and jump towards the next thing. Okay. With that said, I'll see you in the next module.